What would you do without electronic devices? Each of us, I'm going to guess most of us, have electronic devices in our life. In fact, if you count your computer, all of us listening to this have electronic devices that we use. That question is simple for me if I look back into my teenage years and before. We didn't have electronic devices. If I wanted to play with my friends, I would go down the street and I would knock on their door and I would say, hey, you want to play? Unlike today, many of the kids that we see are standing there doing this, as the other one's right next to them, asking if they want to play. It's a totally different world that we live in today. What can you do with your electronic devices? Many of us use our electronic devices today to shop, to do our banking, to do business, and most of all, to communicate with our family and friends. It has become a major part of our culture today. Social media is a huge part of our electronic devices. In fact, on pewinternet.org, in a survey that was done in November of 2016, so just a few short months ago, they found that 75% of all who are on the internet are using social media. And the number one social media forum that's being used is Facebook still today. Social media is an important part of our life. It is how we communicate with many of our friends and family. Over 2 years ago, I was on social media every day, communicating with my family and friends, keeping up with what was going on in their life, and likewise them being able to keep up with what was going on in mine. It got to the point where I was reading so many stories of what was going on in the world. And the scary part of that is, as President Uchtdorf has so testified to each of us, that oftentimes there is truth on the internet. And then other times there is partial truth being shared on the internet. And then even worse, sometimes there's no truth in what's being shared on the internet. And so this drove me to say, why am I spending so much time on something that I'm not even sure if the truth is being shared? And even to make matters even worse, I had some of my children who live here in my home come and ask me, why are you spending time on the internet? Why are you spending time on social media and you won't even come spend time playing with us? And so I reevaluated where I was. And just a couple of years ago, I decided to remove myself from that forum, from social media, and get it completely out of my life. I felt that it was doing me more harm than it was good. And then I began the Pathway program and started to hear some talks, a few by Elder Bednar, about social media. And then I had the opportunity when I first started in the Pathway program for a couple of semesters to be a speaking partner with an individual who lives in Italy, all the way across the world, a place that I've never been. And so I had the opportunity to utilize the internet and social media to communicate with this individual and to take a world that was huge and vast and shrink it down to a small community where we have now created a friendship that will last eternally to an individual that I would have never had the opportunity to meet if it had not been for social media and electronics. Let me share with you a few things from Elder Bednar. He's one of my favorite apostles. He has 3 talks that I've taken a few things from about social media. Elder Bednar says, media gives us an opportunity or an avenue to share goodness and truth. If we'll pick just one thing and in our own words share our testimony about that, we can do it in a way that would be upfront and wouldn't pose any issue to anybody that was listening. But what it has done for us and affected us. And as we draw on common ground in our truth sharing, we'll have the opportunity to bring light to those who are seeking. As well as Elder Bednar says in another talk, we are blessed to live in a time when the Lord is hastening the work Social media has come about in a time when the Lord is hastening his work. It's my belief that the Lord has allowed social media to come about, to take that vast world and shrink it to a small community that we might be able to share truth, to guide and direct our brothers and sisters to his atoning sacrifice. As well as Elder Bednar had one other talk, and he talked about how the world is full of darkness and confused, and that we hold light and truth that will combat that darkness. And so if we will take social media and use it to share the work of the Lord, participate in the hastening of the work, we will be able to bring light that will penetrate through that darkness and bring peace, joy, happiness, and enlightenment in an otherwise confused world. So ultimately, my challenge to each of you, including myself, is that we will use social media to participate in that hastening of the work. So really the question is, what will you do with social media? It is so important to the work of our Heavenly Father that he has allowed it to come about in our day. We are able to communicate and penetrate that darkness with our testimonies and the truth as we share on social media, how it has affected us and what it has brought us. My challenge to you is that you'll do that. If you're already doing that, do it more. If you're not doing it, start to do it. Thank you.